Hi friends, welcome back to Spoonful. I'm Lauren, and today we're going to talk about the end of the school year. Yay! So if you're new around here, my name is Lauren, and we talk about growing things on my great-grandparents' property and also homeschooling our little one. And today it is the ending of his second grade year. My son is 7. If he was in traditional public school where we live, he will be considered a first grader. But here at home, he is finishing his second grade curriculum. And I wanted to kind of give my thoughts and opinions of what happened this year. If you need to, I'll also link the mid-year review that we did in January and the beginning of the school year so you know exactly what we were expecting to try this year, but ultimately things switch through and change. So let's start with some of the easiest subjects. So my son attended a co-op this year, and at that co-op, he took some fun subjects such as STEM, gym, and art. And then he also took core classes there. And one of the core classes was social studies. They used My Story, My Country, My World, #2 book by Master Books. This book was a kind of unique book. I thought it was done very nicely, very repetitive. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your child. So how is it repetitive? I'm going to go ahead and show you because they did not actually finish the last, what is it, about 5 lessons? Yes. So here's a lesson riding from El Salvador and Guatemala. So they're leaving the last country and they'll be talking about 2 new countries in here. One thing I loved is that they just didn't brush over South America. They didn't just brush over Africa and touch on just 2 countries. They did a very good job in this book identifying a lot of countries in South America and in South Central America as well as Africa because they tend to get brushed over. The way the book is designed has some information on the front cover of the lesson, and the second page has more information. Usually there's a third page here is either finishing up the information or it goes into large pictures like so. And so they give you a description, usually fine print at the bottom of the picture of what's going on in that picture, and it relates to that country. Really appreciate that. I really like the fact that it's always a food related picture. So here at the bottom it says Choco Banana, traditional dessert of Guatemala, a frozen bananas dipped into melted chocolate. Yes. So what we did at home when we went over the lesson, we will try our best to either buy, cook, or look at videos about the food. The teacher did a wonderful job sending videos too, so I didn't always have to go searching for them. The opposite page was called God's Creation Time. This section often did not relate to the chapter whatsoever. It was something about animals or people or children and bringing in Bible verses. Not quite sure what the theme was to it because like I said, it didn't always relate to the country or something about that country. So it's meant for you to have discussion with your child, but it did not relate to birds in El Salvador or Guatemala. So that's one little weird thing or gripe I will have with the lesson. They have a section at the bottom, talk time and thankful time. His teacher gave the students a little workbook in which every week they try to write something they were thankful in. Once again, the talk time and the thankful time did not relate to the country whatsoever. So another weird thing to me. The repetitiveness fell into the 2 activities that the textbook provides. Every single lesson had the words that were highlighted throughout the country into a search puzzle, and then also colored the flag. I found this to be extremely repetitive to the point where my son likes to do these, but then after a while he was like, again? And then he doesn't like to color, so we usually skip that page the majority of the weeks. He will rather draw this flag than to actually color it. And I'm like, hey son, If you want to draw it on another sheet of paper. But the puzzle, I like the puzzles, but every single week for 34 straight weeks, that was a lot. So we often skip that. There was some government time section at the bottom of the flag in which they always gave the capital and a fun fact about the country. And then the language time, they gave a word or phrase in a particular language. Once again, not matching that particular country that you're studying. It says down here, the Chinese phrase for your week is may you, and it means no. And I could be butchering that, guys. For El Salvador and Guatemala, why don't we have a Spanish word? Weird. Weird, weird, weird. And then the last 2 pages of the lesson was, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, that was. Okay, last 2 pages was a little information here. That's not common. Usually it's just some words for you to copy. Once again, Master Books tends to be a Charlotte Mason style book. So they tend to have a lot of copy work. My son did this, I would say many of the weeks, not all. And then over here is encouragement to talk about something. And then a word collector. If there's any words in this chapter that your child did not know, did not understand, cannot read, cannot spell, you as a parent can figure out different ways to get them to either spell it, read it, understand it, you name it. And that was the book. And they continue on and on and on. And the last page was a journal before you head on to the next country. Very, very repetitive. I'm so glad his teacher did not hone in on a lot of the same things every single week, because that would have been so boring for 34 weeks. So if you are following this book to the T, just know that every single lesson has the exact same materials to it. A few things that have no rhyme or reason to it. Like, let's learn a word of a language that doesn't associate to the country you're learning about. However, my take on it, we didn't mind it. It was a good way. I merged this with another program that I truly liked. And I'll show you that right now and how we made this book come to life even more. So the curriculum that we used to bring the Master Book curriculum to life a little bit more was Build Your Libraries Level 0 Around the World. I really like this style of curriculum. It takes storybooks, picture books, and then later in the child's education, it takes into biographies, and it allows for the subject to come alive. And it was really nice reading those book suggestions along with the countries, because my son got to understand a little bit more about what's going on. She has the main suggestions of books, and then she also has another suggestion off to the side. There's so many books, and a couple of them I actually owned. So it was really nice to do that. She has a art book and a cooking book, and all about children from different countries as recommendations to go along with her curriculum. So I definitely use both of them together. I suggest them both. No, not every book that she suggested is going to be religious or Christian of any sort, because it's a secular curriculum. But I didn't care. I wanted my child to understand a little bit more about somebody else, not a religious view of somebody else. But yes, these two together wrapped up social studies for the year. Will I ever use Master Book again for social studies? I have no idea. To tell the truth, I will have to view some more before I purchase it, because this layout was so repetitive, and yeah, it wasn't 100% my favorite. But one thing that they did put together that I appreciated and loved was the Heaven and Earth for Beginners book. This is another master's book. Not written in the same format, not written the same way at all. This is my son's second year using Master Book for Science. The co-op made the suggestion and selected it, and we all purchased it to attend the class, and I loved it. I loved it. My son loved it. The teacher rocked it. Once again, I think the last 4 or 5 lessons are still in the book. So my son loves science anyway, so we probably are gonna finish this out, just simply because he's always asking questions about science. So one thing I loved about this science curriculum is real life pictures. I love that. It always gives a description of the main topic, what they're talking about. Everything was broken down very specifically. The activities that children can do are always highlighted in yellow. In this particular one, it is a song, a volcano song, trying to get them to remember how volcanoes actually erupt. And it says the word pressure and melt and rock. And anyway, fun. We have done all kind of activities because of this book and that yellow section there. Also in the back, they have some more activities for each major chapter, or I think they're called units. Great layout. So anyway, they have a scripture tracing section here. If you want to do that, we didn't do it. I don't think my son traced it all the whole year. The little blue box here always has questions on what you've read. And then, let's skip the page. Oh, I did not skip a page. And then in the last of the unit, we'll always have like a unit review. A last of each lesson, we'll always have some type of activity in the back. I'm going to see if I can find one to show you. So have, crossword puzzles. But the yellow boxes, for example, here, some of them are experiments. And we have had experiments where we needed to create an earthquake. We had to do experiment with planets. It's a great book. I think if you have a science-loving kid, a science-loving parent, and you're trying to get your kids to enjoy science, this book does an excellent job of it. What we did at home outside of the co-op was we created lap books with everything that my son read. They gave us activities to do, glued together. If you're interested in the lap book that we put together for this, put a like below, say yes, and I'll make a video specifically on that lap book and how you can create the same thing with your child in any kind of subject. So that's what we did for the science. Social studies and science was so much fun this year, but this one surprisingly knocked it out the park. Okay, next subject is mathematics. My son is finishing up primary math 2A right now. He is I would say almost halfway through this book. He picked this up in January. He spent from September through Christmas and 1A and 1B. Sailed right through 1A and then finished up 1B. I think he had a couple lessons left into January for 1B. And then we picked this up at either the last week of January, I want to say. Nonetheless, yes. 2A. Primary mathematics. This is Singapore math. It is great. It works with his brain. So we use the Math-U-See blocks and so apply it to this math. But it is such a great program for him. It does not stump him. It does not confuse him. And yeah, it challenges him. Don't get me wrong. It does give him a challenge. It does make him think a little bit more. But Math-U-See, for some reason, the way that the practice book was going about, the repetitiveness, after the first month, he was screaming at me, no more. But the way this book is designed, here's a good example. This is practice 2D. Lots of problems are on this page, including my favorite, word problems. It is very important for children to understand word problems very young because guess what? They show up on standardized tests all throughout their life, including the SAT, and I don't want that to be his very first experience is later in life with something as simple as a word problem. But anyway, lots of math problems in the review section before they moved on to a brand new lesson. My son loves that it's colorful. He gets to see how math is moving about. Like I said, we use the Math-U-See blocks. That also helps. The instruction guide to primary math often refers to math blocks or 10 blocks. So make sure that if your child is switching over, do not get rid of those blocks. It doesn't matter if it's Math UC blocks or 10 frame blocks. It doesn't matter. If your child can use them and you're trying to start this curriculum, keep all your manipulatives, your bears, your blocks, your popsicle sticks, you name it, because there's lots of instructions in the teacher guide that gives you games and activities to help them learn these concepts before you dive into the book. So, colorful textbook. And then the workbook is standard black and white. We don't mind, I don't mind, my son doesn't mind that the workbook is black and white. It gives him the opportunity to draw all over, use colored pencils, use markers to help him identify different things. There are opportunities for coloring and there's always a activity. It's not just pages of math problems. For example, here he had to solve the problem at the top, find the answer in the blobs down below, and figure out what shape it creates. There's sometimes there's puzzles in there, and here's more of those word problems. So we will continue this throughout the summer. I will do a separate video on how in the world do we play in the garden and do homeschool at the same time. But definitely keeping up with the math, and we'll just keep trucking right along to book 2B when he's ready in his 3rd year. Also, even though it's 2A, 2nd grade for Singapore math, the concepts taught in this book, I'm finding them more in 3rd grade, 1st quarter of 3rd grade. So if you are switching over to this, I highly, highly recommend that you take a test so you can find out exactly which level your child is going to go into, because it is not equivalent, especially if you have a child that has been schooled. It does not flow with the speed and what was taught. If you want one that does go with a schooled child, they do have one that marches along Common Core Math. This book is not. So you see this picture is duplicated on all the years in this series. You do not want this series if you want to continue Common Core. They do not line up at all. Good and bad, you choose. But I just want to warn folks. All right, so let's move on to language arts. What in the world happened this year? All right, I like language arts. I like math too. That's my main subject that I like to teach. But this year with language arts, teaching him to read was so much fun. It was so frustrating in the beginning of the school year because he knew enough to really try hard, but he did not have that internal gusto. He was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. And so we switched up some things which helped him to really grasp reading and take off. So this year for language arts, we began the year finishing out language arts 1. I quickly realized around Thanksgiving, Christmas time that these concepts that are in this book were going too fast for him, and he really wasn't holding on to the information. And I think because he didn't have much practice outside of the actual workbook. I was trying my best to pick up readers from the library, readers from our shelf over here that will get him to practice the concepts, but he was not actually finding the exact word in the book, and that didn't line up well. This curriculum does have a reader, which I do have on my shelf, and no, I didn't use it. Why? I don't know. That's my own fault. And I think because it looks so aggressive to my son, he wanted a giant picture and like a couple sentences, and that reader is like a small picture and a whole page of reading, and that looked so intimidating to him, and he was not having it. So that's why I didn't use it, even though I should have used it so he could practice the phonetic sounds that were coming up in this book. Nonetheless, we were still creeping along in Essential Phonics 3 at the beginning of the school year. I did a full pause on Christian Light, and we just went straight ham in this curriculum. I mean, we did every lesson that we possibly can. I think he has 6 lessons left before we finish this book. And his ability to decode a word and recode a word took off when we pretty much took out all the extra work and just practiced reading it and using Explore the Code to practice what they read. So 6 lessons left, I say, and then we will go ahead and test his reading level after that. But I'm pretty sure I already know. I know where he's going to land because of the amount of words that he can read. He's just a reluctant reader, but I catch him reading and sounding out all kinds of words. But then when I say, hey, sit down with the book, no. But I catch him in the library reading through books. And when he gives him free time, I was like, Mom's going to sit here in this chair and you can go over there. And then I'm like, see him in eyesight and he will be sitting there with his little finger going through. And I was like, you can read. Then when you get home, can you read this? Oh, no. Chicken Little, the sky is falling. All right, so like I said, Explore the Code. That was the practice book with Essential Phonics before we went and jumped back into Christian Light, Language 1. So we finished both. Finished it. And almost finished it. He did a lot in Language Arts this year. So that was a lot. There are other things. The actual readers that my son had read throughout the year, puzzle books that he has completed throughout the year, his Bible curriculum that he has done this year, and magazines that he has thumbed through. There's so much more. Games that he has played, puzzles that he has put together. There's a lot of things that he has gotten into in this past year that he has succeeded in. He's done so well in. And I'm proud of him. I'm happy that I've been able to see that spark go off in his little eyes when he learned something new. I did not hog all that excitement. My husband got the days to teach him. My parents got to hold on to him a couple of days throughout the school year to teach. And of course, his wonderful teachers at his co-op every week. They got to see the sparkle in his and other children's eyes as they learned. So yes, the books are closed. We're done. And we're going to head into summer learning. I'll explain all about that in my next video of what in the world do we do, especially when we are constantly knee deep in the garden. Not today though, because it's been raining all day. All day. So bad. But yes. That has been the 2024-2025 school year for us. Stay tuned. Our homeschool conference is just around the corner for us, where I will be collecting all kind of goodies. I volunteered there. I think our conference is like the second largest in the country. So we tend to come home with lots of goodies, and I will share that haul coming up. And then also, how in the world did I keep it all together? I have been scouring and testing and playing with all kind of calendars, and I found a great one this year, and so I bought the new one. So I'll be putting that together for 2025, 2026, next 12 months. I will go ahead and share that with you, give you some ideas, and I would love to get some ideas from you on how you kind of keep up with your life and how everything melds together as we go through this big blue marble we're on. So thanks for dropping by. If you guys had a wonderful year, I would love to know. Is it something that you truly enjoyed this year? Because there was. I think I gave you sort of my likes and dislikes for the school year all in this video wrapping it up. But as long as these kind of things exist, which I picked up the whole series a couple weeks ago. But yeah, as long as these exist, I think my son is going to love love school, because him and drawing are like peanut butter and jelly. So thanks for dropping by. Leave a like, subscribe, and any kind of comments. If you guys are interested in homeschooling or you are homeschooling, how was your year? I hope great, because guess what? It's over. Welcome to summer. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.